One of the things that we like to do on the Change Show is demonstrate to our listeners, if you like, that we're not just out there spouting all this great stuff, but actually we do take some of it on board ourselves. So have you got an example of a time in your life when you were going through some sort of significant change, and what resources did you have to draw on to get through that and come out the other end smiling and looking as fantastic as you do today?
I would say there's always some form of significant change going on in my world. It's the nature of what I do and the nature of the world that I kind of operate in. That's my arena, I think. So there's always a sense of A, working out how to kind of deal with it, and B, then, what am I supposed to do with it in terms of, bottling that and helping other people deal with that ahead of time, really. But I think in terms of, and I think what you're looking for is kind of that personal experience of going through one of those journeys. There are so many, and some of them are incredibly deep. Those that know me already will know some of those stories. But if we relate back to talking about that, this kind of the first kind of steps into coaching, if you like, we talked about late teens, and that was a very difficult time. So I alluded to, there was things going on in my world at that point in time. I took an overdose, and at that point I kind of made a decision that actually things were really too difficult, and that was going to be, how do I step through that? And it was that sense of having taken an overdose and then realizing, actually, do you know what? That's you being a victim. And it was that kind of stepping back. And there was a whole set of conversations that seemed to take place in my head that were very natural. But there was a period of time where, having got rid of whatever I'd put into my system, and, my parents were medical, as you know, so there was a good concoction. It was that sense of actually, if I shut my eyes, then probably I was gone. And if I kept them open, there was a chance I might stay. Because at that point, there's a series of conversations that had gone forward, which I shared earlier, about wanting to help make a difference for other people and help them on that path. So there's an aspect of kind of growth and accountability that came through that. And at that point, it was like, I couldn't turn that off. So I knew, actually, my focus was to stay and to stay alive if I could, and to make that difference. And I did manage to keep my eyes open, and I did kind of step through that. And I think, as I alluded to, there were certain years of my 20s where I forgot about that pact and spent a good bit of time enjoying my life. It was then kind of as those lessons started to come back, and that provided the real kind of impetus for what I do, and trying to make it as enjoyable and as fun, because my life wasn't fun at that point in time. So there's one thing helping, wanting to help people be the best they can be and help translate stuff and make complex things simple and all that wonderful label stuff that goes with it. But actually, it's how to do that in an enjoyable way that actually really gave something back to people and made things accessible. And that's why, you hear me using words like accessible, like signposting and things like that actually just take that difficulty out of learning or change and things like that. There have been many points in my life where things have still been remarkably tough. And, we've been on the kind of last shreds of everything, several times through. And it's at those times that, I find myself having to kind of, have a stiff talk to myself and just almost, it's just time to really eat your own medicine now, and, take your own medicine and step forward. And sometimes, when things get really tough, it is about actually just stepping back and taking one step at a time, those baby steps, but taking the right steps. And that's the critical bit. As long as you're kind of taking those right steps forward, it makes a big difference. So hopefully that helps as an example. But if you want more, just ask. There's no shortage of examples.
And you know what? That's the consistency when I ask that question with my guests, is that they say, well, where do I start? I've got a huge list here. And I think that's actually refreshing to hear, because sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it can feel like you're the only person in the world going through types of challenges that you're facing. But if we keep sharing these stories and keep helping people recognize, you're not alone, and there are always other people going through similar things, and you can reach out to anybody, really. Most people have got something like this going on that they can relate it to. But what struck me with your story is that, as dramatic and harrowing as it was for you, that personal experience, it's probably one of the things that's probably given you that faith that coaching works, because coaching is based on the principle that you have the answers within you.
Yeah.
and let's uncover that together, and through conversation and questions help you get to that point, if you like. But the coach fundamentally believes that you've got the answer there, and from your own experience, because you found yourself in a situation that was on one level, life and death, and it was like, no, but you had the question, you had it within you to bring yourself back. All I can say is thank God you did, and I'm sure many of your clients feel the same as well. So thanks for sharing that, Nigel. It was really eye-opening.